Today we go to story time of a Minecraft kid who thought that golden apples actually existed, and he ended up writing an entire paper about them in his history class and presenting it to the entire class. It was pretty funny. Leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, subscribe, and let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who sent in today's story, we're going to call him Brandon. I got that name from the comment section down below, so leave a comment of whatever name you'd like me to use in a future video. Anyways, right, Brandon was telling me a story of one time in his history class, this kid called Steven. Yes, Steven. He's the Minecraft kid for today's video. I'm just gonna call him Steven. So this all happened during history class when they were learning about the Revolutionary War. For you who don't know, or maybe don't live in the United States used to be a colony of Britain, and then they broke free and they fought a war for their independence. That's the quick version of what happened. But anyways, right, they were at this point in their schooling where they were learning about, the Revolutionary War, the independence of the United States, and they had a pretty large project, or at least a paper that they had to write about really any topic they wanted. There was a bit of freedom, but it had to do with the Revolutionary War, early, American colonies, life or whatever. It was very broad, and the teacher was, going to be pretty accepting of multiple topics. And they were also just in 5th grade, so it was like, the expectations weren't crazy high. But let me just say the Minecraft kid found a way to slip below these somewhat low expectations. Anyways, right, so the paper was assigned, and it was write about any topic that had to do with the Revolutionary War. So the Minecraft kid, or we're just going to call Steven from this point on, had a brilliant idea. I mean, not really, but an interesting idea, to say the least. So the Minecraft kid had a few, or Steven, I'm just going to call him at this point. Steven had a few misconceptions about reality. And part of this was due to the amount of Minecraft he played and how part of Minecraft he thought was real. And the thing is, right, the logic isn't the worst ever because, look, at the end of the day, spiders do actually exist in the real world. Trees do actually exist in the real world. There's a lot of real world stuff in Minecraft. And the thing is, like, Steven knew that, I don't know, the wither didn't actually exist in the real world. He also knew you couldn't punch trees. However, he had a few misconceptions about what in Minecraft wasn't actually true about the real world. And one of those misconceptions happened to be, golden apples as a source of healing. Yeah. And how do I say this without it being too awkward, bro? Well, I'll just cut to the chase. Steven was going to write a paper about how golden apples should have been used in the Revolutionary War to, reduce casualties. So Brandon, the subscriber, didn't know about this until one day before they were to present their papers in front of the entire class. They were assigned to small groups to read each other's papers and give a little bit of feedback. And Brandon was doing something about life in the colonies back in the day, something pretty standard. He read his paper, and Steven didn't really give that much feedback. He was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty good, bro." One thing about small groups I found is, the feedback is always nice, good stuff. It's the least helpful feedback I've ever received. But anyways, right, eventually, Brandon's sitting there and he listens as Steven starts to talk about what he's doing. Anyways, Brandon sat there as Steven read him a paper about how both sides would have taken less casualties if they took advantage of the golden apple health feature in the real world. If they employed more golden apples for their healing. Because, Steven's logic was that, they were trying to limit, how much equipment they had, and they had to make a choice that, they could either bring muskets, food, whatever, that there's only so much they could have brought. And Steven was making an argument that they should have also brought golden apples because, they just do so much healing, and it would have been for a humanitarian reason, they should have brought the golden apples, right? And the thing is, Brandon, even though Brandon is in 5th grade, he knows a thing or two about a thing or two, he just realizes that this is ridiculous. However, Brandon, he concedes to me because he sent this to me over on Instagram, which is in the description, or just Connor Pugs. If you want to send in a story to me, actually, if you have a story, please send it in to me because, that's how I make these videos. He conceded to me on Instagram that, he should have stepped in. Brandon admits that he should have stepped in and said something. But Brandon, he says, "Oh, I like the paper, bro." And Brandon says, that's kind of a jerk move of him because he does know better, right? But Brandon was like, I gotta see this. I gotta see him say it in front. Like, I need to be there when he reads this in front of everyone. And to be fair, man, I can't totally blame him, and it definitely made for a better story. So, Loki, Brandon, thank you for doing this, because now I got a better story to tell on the channel. Anyways, it's finally the day. It is finally the time where they are to read their papers in front of everyone. Everyone at this point has polished up their papers. You know, they've made it as good as possible, and they're all sitting there kind of nervously awaiting, saying, like, reading it out in front of everyone, because, public speaking's hard, man. It's hard to, like, read something you worked on, for a while in front of everyone. I get it. But the thing is, right, the ironic thing was that the person who seemed the most confident, as Brandon recalls, was Steven. He didn't even have no sweat, no worry, no, like, kind of like, I don't know. He just seemed like the most confident out of everyone going into this, which is pretty funny since he was writing a paper on golden apples. But anyways, right, Brandon goes up. He's actually the first one to speak. He's the first one to do his presentation. And Brandon says he does a pretty solid job. Is that actually the case? I don't know, man. I'm just telling you the story how I get it. But anyways, right, Brandon says, he does a pretty good job. More people go up, and all the presentations or the papers are pretty solid. Before Steven does his big presentation, which is probably the best part of this story, real quick, comment golden apple down below. I'm going to try and heart as many comments as I can see that say golden apple. Don't take it personally if I don't get to heart your comment. I'm very busy. I got a lot of things going on. And just know, heart or no heart, I do appreciate you. But if you don't want to heart, comment golden apple down below. Anyways, so right. Steven, he walks up in front of everyone with this big kind of confident walk. He gets up there, kind of has this like a little bit of a smile, a little bit of a smirk, kind of just like saying, I know what I'm doing. I got a great presentation. Sit back, like relax, and prepare to be blown away. I mean, like, they were definitely blown away, but maybe not for how good it was. So Steven goes up there and he starts, he's like, today I'll have a presentation on how casualties could have been significantly reduced during during the Revolutionary War. And the teacher was like, the teacher actually like started to pay closer attention because this was a very interesting topic. The idea, a lot of people did like, here's historical life that happened back in the day. Here's a very specific battle. Like, it wasn't necessarily not interesting, but it was kind of boring. And then when Steven comes up and says, hey, here's how we could have reduced casualties, like, the teacher starts paying attention because he's like, oh, goddamn, like, this is kind of cool. Like, this is kind of interesting. I want to know how this goes. But the second that Steven starts talking, the teacher just instantly is just like, hey, yep. Anyways, right, Steven's like, all right, so we're going to be talking about how casualties could have been significantly reduced in the Revolutionary War. When packing soldiers, they only have so much space. They can only carry so much, and they have to make a decision. Do they carry more, artillery? Do they carry more weaponry? Do they carry more whatever, right? And he says, it's very strategic of what you choose. And I think that both sides made a strategic mistake by not equipping soldiers with more golden apples. A moment of silence for Steven's grade, please. Thank you. Very respectful. Anyways, right. Brandon looks across the entire class, and everyone's face, who is kind of like, because they were all kind of tuning in because this was an interesting topic, or at least they wanted to hear the payout. They wanted to hear what was the secret sauce to reduce casualties. And when they hear that it was equipping them with golden apples, they were just like, What? And Steven goes on for about another 5 minutes reading out his paper where he goes over, the pros of using golden apples, how they're easy to store, how they regenerate health while they didn't carry anything else that regenerated health. And Steven really questioned why they didn't have any type of regen, not realizing that regen is not a real thing. And by the end of it, he says, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope I changed a mind or two here. And then he, picks up his paper, proudly and confidently walks to where the teacher is, puts his paper down on the pile of papers because you would turn in your paper after you're done reading it, and sits back down. And the teacher doesn't necessarily say anything. The teacher kind of just says, "Thank you, Stephen. That was very interesting." The teacher's not about to humiliate him in front of the entire class because the teacher kind of realizes that everyone else in the class was kind of giving him this look and that, like, they knew that something was up. But anyways, right, Brandon was a little confused that nothing happened to Stephen right away, that, like, Stephen was kind of in the clear. Like, and he was like, wait a minute, is the teacher actually going to let him, like, get away with this? But anyways, a day later, they were, not a day later actually, probably about a week later, the teacher had finished grading their tests. And they started handing them back. And it just happened to be that Brandon was right behind Steven. So when Steven got his test back, he could see exactly what was on the paper. Yeah, and sure enough, when Brandon saw what Steven got an F in a circle and then "See me after class" written in, like, red pen. Subscribe if you haven't already, drop a like in the video, and then click on one of the 4 videos on screen right now to support the channel. Peace.